Most people have never seen this gambit, and that's exactly why it destroys them. Today, we're playing the Portuguese Gambit. It starts by white playing e4, we respond with d5, the Scandinavian defense. White takes and we play knight to f6. White plays the top engine move d4. And we respond with bishop to g4, the Portuguese Gambit. I will cover other lines if white plays moves like knight to f3, knight to c3, and pawn c4 later. But here we enter the Portuguese Gambit with bishop to g4. Here the best move is to play f3, kicking the bishop, and we back to f5. White tries to keep their pawn advantage with pawn to c4, and we gambit another pawn with e6. White takes and we play knight to c6, gambiting yet another pawn. White takes it with check and we take with king. White plays bishop to e3 and we give a check with bishop to b4. White blocks the check with knight to c3. Now we move our rook to e8, pinning the bishop. White plays the most common move in this position with king to f2, moving out of the pin and protecting the bishop. We sacrifice the exchange with rook takes bishop. White takes with king. Here we play the tricky line by sacrificing the knight with taking on d4. White grabs it with the queen. We give a check with queen to e7 and white is going to lose their queen. They back their queen to d2 and we play rook to d8. Queen takes rook on d8 and we take back with queen. Now even though we are currently down material, white's game is resignable with engine giving us minus 3.7. One other line white commonly plays after knight to c6 is pushing d5. This might look scary, but it loses almost instantly with knight to b4. White takes the third pawn with check and we take back with king. White prevents an incoming knight fork with knight to a3. Here we just play bishop to c5. White tries to keep the king safe with bishop to e2 and we pin it with rook to e8. Here the engine move for white is king to f1. And we are looking at ideas like knight to h5 and queen to e7 ready to go for a checkmate. Their pieces are tangled, their coordination is off, and their king exposed and stuck in the center. All while we've got total control of the initiative. What if white doesn't play f3, but instead the most common move of bishop to e2? We don't wait, we trade off our bishop. They take back with the knight and we recapture the pawn with our queen. Already we're equal in material but better in piece activity. White calmly castles, and we bring out our knight, reinforcing the center and preparing to develop quickly. They attack our queen with knight to c3 and we swing our queen to f5, eyeing a potential attack and provoking weaknesses. White jumps in with their knight, attacking our queen. We slide her back to g6, keeping her active while dodging the threat. Now white advances in the center d5, trying to squeeze us. But we don't blink. We castle long, pinning the pawn. Already our pieces are more alive than theirs. They try repositioning their queen for defense, but we counter with knight to d4, a massive threat. White senses the danger and retreats again, but that's exactly what we wanted. Now we break open the center with e5, tearing into their pawn structure. They grab with the pawn and we pounce knight to g4. We're offering chaos and forcing white to think fast. They try escaping with a queen retreat and we slam down f5. Suddenly the board's exploding. Another queen retreat to f4 and now we go for the throat, queen takes e6. A clean, powerful blow. White kicks us with h3, we drop knight to e5, centralizing and threatening more destruction. White drops their knight to e2. Then comes our final strike, the knight leaps to c2. White's king is frozen, rook's disconnected, and we're ready to gobble material or deliver a knockout blow. Now we are going to look at the most common response of white playing knight to c3 instead of pawn to d4. We take the free pawn on d5, and when they recapture knights, we respond with queen takes d5. Already, we're equal in material and ready to bring pieces out quickly. Now white plays knight to f3, aiming to develop fast. We calmly play knight to c6, taking control of the center squares. Then white plays d4 and we respond with bishop to g4, pinning and building tension on their knight. They try to break the pin with bishop to e2, and we don't wait, we castle long, rushing to connect rooks and aim for the king. Next, white plays c3, a flexible move. We respond with e5, hitting the center again. Now they take, offering a queen trade, but we play a tricky line with queen to e4. That move comes with weight, pressure, coordination, and big threats on the horizon. White plays queen to b3, threatening pressure on our king. But here comes the twist, we play knight takes e5. Now we're threatening all kinds of ideas, knight jumps, discovered checks, and tactical shots. Despite equal material, we've taken over the initiative and forced white into defensive thinking. They control the board in theory, but we control the game. What if white just tries to hold on to their pawn with c4? Here we can play the rare Icelandic Gambit with e6. When they take it, we respond bishop takes e6, instantly activating one of our best pieces. Now they push d4, trying to build a strong center, so we hit back with bishop to b4 check. This is where the tension builds. They block with knight to c3, and we drop knight to e4, planting a powerful piece in the center. They play bishop to d2, and that's our cue. We take with queen takes d4, threatening tactics and central control. When they go knight takes knight on e4, we reply queen takes with check, keeping initiative and forcing their kingside pieces to stay passive. White plays bishop to e2, trying to develop, but we continue our smooth development with knight to c6, adding more pressure and flexibility. Then comes knight to f3, finally bringing a key defender into the game. But at this point, we already have everything ready. We castle long. Just like that, our rooks are ready to jump into the action, and their king is still stuck in the center. By move 10, we're ahead in development. Our pieces are pointing directly at their king, and we've got a clear plan. Black has no real threats, and we've dictated the flow of the game from the start. If you're tired of passive openings and want to play sharp, aggressive chess that stuns your opponents early, hit that like button and subscribe. Let's keep catching people off guard.